So we move on to Module 9. If you remember last time we were talking about business processes and how they work and totally quality management and should you re-engineer your business if you're in trouble. So today we're going to talk about the organizational strategy, and that's how do you set organizations up. And so what we'll be talking about is whether, in terms of these structures, whether they should be hierarchical, flat, adhocracy matrix, or networked. And so this is your assignment for the discussion board, and just write, what organization structures have you been in and what have you observed? An example is ASU. What do you think ASU is? Considering how many layers you have to go through, you could pretty much say it's hierarchical. And then you can start to use the argument, should an innovative school be hierarchical? And that's not being overly critical of the university, it's just that you need to challenge ideas. And so what is an organization? And basically an organization is a system that has subsystems that all form a working body. And so you need structure, people, goals, and what techniques are you going to use to do that. So in terms of organizing or putting our organization together in terms of structure, the question is, what is it that you're trying to do? And so the way an organization functions is you have to think about how do decisions make? How do relationships come together? Informal networks are a very, very big part, and now you're getting into culture of a company. I once went to Vice President of Engineering saying, we need to change this. And he just said, well, yeah, you're right, but we have a lot of culture here. It's like you're the Vice President of Engineering. Half this place reports to you, and you're telling me you can't do anything because there's too much culture here. Anyway, managers, it's about decision making. Decision making is about, what kind of data do you have and how effective you can be. What incentives are you going to use? And so a big part of how information flows, because information is a huge part of decision making, is done by software. In terms of software, you need hardware to support it. You also have to have data functions, and you also need to communicate outside the system, because now we live in the age of internet. And so what is that gibberish? I don't know. But anyway, a lot depends on the constraints of what you need for the organization. And so here's a definition of organizational structure. You can talk about that. What it comes down to is how do you divide and link everyone together in terms of horizontally, meaning who are people that are considered to be equal functions, vertical, who are considered to be more important. And also, do you have spatial issues? In a lot of companies, especially global companies, you have world headquarters. And everybody outside of world headquarters, you're basically in Siberia. Even though we were in Silicon Valley, we weren't held with the same regard as everyone in Chicago. And if you want to get promoted within a corporation, you have to be willing to move to world headquarters. Anyway, so how are all these subsets all broken up? In a lot of cases, they're done by divisions, and that's that each different division has its own focus. And so if you cluster together what you think, for example, General Motors could have a division for just parts. General Motors can have their Chevy division. You break up your company in different ways, whether it's on function or products or services and so on. In terms of coordination, so coordination is basically how you can integrate everyone together. Now it's a little like looking at a network map, meaning if I need 2 jumps to get to a point versus 1 jump, evidently the 1 jump is more efficient. The question is how do you make the decision-making body work? Is it decentralized, meaning each part has its own functions and rights, or do you put it all in one place? For example, your body. Your body doesn't have to wait for the brain to tell it, like if I cut myself, start healing yourself. So in that sense, part of your body is decentralized. On the other hand, my body doesn't move or work without my brain telling it to. So classical designs are hierarchical. And an example of that is the U.S. military. Part of the reason why you have hierarchy is if you don't have time to question or to challenge things. And, when bullets and bombs are flying, yeah, that kind of makes a heck of a lot of sense. On the other hand, a lot of organizations today are either done by matrix or project-based, and that means ad hoc. And actually, some of the best-run organizations tend to be ad hoc. For example, Cisco Systems, what they do is, for those of you who haven't heard the story before, what they actually do is put together tiger teams. Excuse me. What they do is they take different people, put a team together for a product, and when the product's done, they break people apart, and then they bring new people together. This way your work is fresh. You get to look at new things. You're not trapped into doing the same thing for 20 years, and they get better synergy within the organization, more active employees. You could see the large oppositions. Large organizations tend to be very top-down, and that kind of makes sense.